This will be a whole new offering and probably tap into a market that Nike and other sports apparel companies really haven't before.
You know what the contract is?
I want to say it's $3 million a year for 8 to 10 years. It's almost $30 million, something like.
The biggest shock here is that Nike is not only locking down Caitlin Clark with a reworked deal, but they are also suing Adidas for trying to sneak in and interfere with their contract. The terrible realization finally hit Nike, and they gave Adidas the finger.
Leftists are idiots. Idiots. They're not about business. They're not about growing the WNBA. They're about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is insanity, what they're doing to Caitlin Clark.
Legally speaking, it goes without saying that two rivaling titans cannot just tamper with each other's athlete roster in that way. Now, Adidas is fumbling with the argument that they only offered Clark an offer, which she declined. But let's face it, they are facing off against Nike, the biggest brand in the industry.
However, I will say that Caitlin Clark has created more buzz around the basketball landscape and has actually transformed and revived a league that was the WNBA, and she is getting paid a measly $28 million for 8 years as opposed to Wemby's 100.
It's strangely pleasant to see this conflict play out since, in the end, Nike wasn't stupid enough to allow their golden goose slip away, and let's not forget, the internet mocked Nike for nearly making a mistake in the first place. It's been an amusing mess all around.
WNBA season, it was announced that Caitlin Clark signed a massive endorsement deal with Nike. This deal was for 8 years, $28 million with a signature sneaker included. Now, at the time, a lot of us were...
I almost feel bad for Adidas because all they attempted to do was to snoop up what Nike completely forgot about, and, to be honest, they pretty much pulled it off. This wasn't just some idle rumors that circulate on Twitter. It was the real thing, and it came with some serious heat. Adidas threw everything they had at Caitlin Clark as if they were attempting to stage a sneaker coup or something, and people were shaken because this wasn't just a casual deal. It was a full-fledged takeover attempt. Adidas wasn't playing nice. They saw the opportunity and went for it while Nike was caught dozing off.
Nike struck absolute gold when they signed Caitlin Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal. So why in the world? And with that, Nike has not done one thing to promote her. We have not seen any commercials. We have not seen any ads. We have not seen any Caitlin Clark merchandise. And we for sure as hell have not seen any Caitlin Clark signature.
Here's where it gets even more juicy. Nike already had Caitlin Clark locked in, but instead of treating her like the basketball goddess she is, they managed to screw everything up. They promised her a signature shoe and a whole line that was supposed to launch in 2024, but in typical Nike fashion, they botched the rollout.
We might not get a signature shoe from Caitlin until 2026 or 2027. I didn't mean for this video to turn into a rant, but this is just another example about how people have fumbled the gift that is
not merely a minor error either. They moved the release date to 2026 or possibly 2027. That's not merely a postponement. It's a complete contract violation in big letters. How can you screw that up?
The commercials, the ads, the merch, like all of the things that she should have gotten during this rookie season. Nike hasn't produced one ad or commercial featuring Clark since she turned pro. And despite a signature shoe being part of Nike's agreement with Clark,
based on conversations with people in the know, it indeed has something to do with the WNBA MVP and Nike athlete, Asia Wilson. But beyond Wilson, it's about the culture of the company that's more concerned with quelling noise rather than making it, as Nike once used to.
Apparently, Nike decided that Wilson's shoe should be released first because she is the MVP and, let's just say, it doesn't have the drama attached to her name like Clark. That's the kind of thinking going on behind the scenes, playing it safe with Wilson while completely forgetting that Clark has an army of fans waiting to crash the internet for her shoe. If you're shocked, it's clear that Nike didn't make this decision based solely on merit or sales potential. Did you take a moment to process that? Because of a media-fueled narrative about playing it safe in the most absurd way imaginable, Nike believed it was a wise decision to push Clark's sneaker back despite her enormous fan base.
Shoe I would wear.
Adidas, on the other hand, wasn't just sitting around while Nike ruined Caitlin Clark's shoe deal. As soon as they noticed that Nike was taking too long, Adidas was able to move quickly and make Clark a huge offer that included more money and better benefits. Basically, everything Nike should have done from the beginning.
The best player in the WNBA? Yes. Is Caitlin Clark currently the face of the WNBA? Yes. Do I think if A'ja Wilson dropped a shoe and Caitlin Clark dropped a shoe today at the very same time, that Caitlin Clark would outsell A'ja's shoe by 100 times?
But this is where Adidas really showed off. They gave Clark creative control over her own marketing strategy. Yes, while Nike was still mired in corporate red tape, Adidas went all out to give Clark the kind of freedom that athletes rarely get. This freedom went beyond simply wearing shoes. It gave Clark the ability to create her own campaigns, build her own brand, and communicate with her ever-increasing fan base directly. Nike didn't even anticipate this.
The hype that Caitlin Clark had going into this season, we will not see that again. She came off of playing in a national championship game that had over 20 million people.
Additionally, there is the shoe release schedule. You may recall how Nike kept pushing Clark's signature shoe farther into the future, from 2024 to 2025, possibly even 2026. However, Adidas wasn't playing that game. They assured her of a quicker release date so that her fans wouldn't have to wait a century to get their hands on her shoes. Adidas recognized that Clark's fans weren't going to wait around forever. They were eager to get their hands on her shoe as soon as possible, while Nike was still juggling paperwork to come up with a launch plan.
She deserves it! She deserves it!
Nike, on the other hand, was in full-on panic mode because they knew they were in danger of a PR disaster if Clark chose to accept A'ja Wilson's offer, because in a head-to-head shoe launch between the two, Clark's fan base was on another level, and Nike knew that if both shoes dropped at the same time, Clark's would sell out in a heartbeat, leaving Wilson's gathering dust. What did Nike do? They went into full damage control mode, trying desperately to revive the original contract they'd neglected after months of pushing Clark to the sidelines. Now, they were trying to get her shoe launch back on track for a 2024 release date, the same date they had initially promised her, but then bailed on, and they were all in on getting her shoe to market as quickly as possible because they knew if they lost her to Adidas, it would be a disaster for them.
Winning unanimous WNBA Rookie of the Year, they've got no plans for a Caitlin Clark shoe. Why not? Well, the official reason from Nike is an obvious lie. What are they hiding? Is sports losing popularity? No, Adidas has done pretty well over that time despite ending their partnership.
And if that wasn't enough drama, there were rumors of a lawsuit brewing. Yes, Nike wasn't just sitting around trying to work out a deal. They were also getting ready to take Adidas to court. They were accusing Adidas of contract manipulation, which basically meant that Adidas had broken some clauses in Clark's original Nike contract. Nike wasn't going to let Adidas just walk in and take their athlete without a fight. So on top of everything else, there were rumors of a legal battle between two of the world's largest sports brands.
LeBron James had his own signature shoe his rookie year. So 20 years ago, Nike was nimble enough and had enough vision to see that, hey, let's get LeBron's shoe out here. This guy's going to be a big deal. They can't do this for Caitlin Clark.
And if that wasn't enough drama, there were rumors of a lawsuit brewing. Yes, Nike wasn't just sitting around trying to work out a deal. They were also getting ready to take Adidas to court. They were accusing Adidas of contract manipulation, which basically meant that Adidas had broken some clauses in Clark's original Nike contract. Nike wasn't going to let Adidas just walk in and take their athlete without a fight. So on top of everything else, there were rumors of a legal battle between two of the world's largest sports brands.
I want to say it's $3 million a year for 8 to 10 years. It's almost $30 million.
This wasn't just about shoes anymore. It was a full-fledged corporate war. Adidas made their move, and now Nike was trying to claw their way back into the game. Whether or not they could actually stop Adidas from signing Clark was still up in the air, but one thing was certain: Nike wasn't going down without a fight. If you think it wasn't that big of a deal, you should know that these massive endorsement contracts aren't just casual agreements. Athletes aren't allowed to switch brands whenever they feel like it. Clause in question:
a major endorsement deal with Adidas. This partnership is a game changer. It's a huge win for Clark and for women's basketball.
And guess what? Nike has that exact clause in Caitlin Clark's contract that probably states loud and clear that Clark cannot endorse any other brands, especially their biggest rival Adidas, while under contract. However, Adidas apparently decided to push their luck anyhow. So, what is Adidas being accused of? Rumor has it that Adidas has been working behind the scenes to try to sweet-talk Clark into believing she deserves more than Nike is offering. Some whispers even suggest Adidas may have added a few extra perks under the table to lure her over. Sure, the sports war game is cutthroat, but this time, Nike claims Adidas crossed a line.
This will be a whole new offering and probably tap into a market that Nike and other sports apparel companies really haven't before. Obviously, little girls are going to wear them. I think plenty of dudes are going to wear them. You're just going to see those things in high demand.
That Clark's initial exclusive clause. It's like seeing two warriors in the ring, except one of them is acting shady and Nike is shouting foul. But we're gone past rumors. Adidas should have known better than to tamper with a Nike contract, but they're apparently using some behind-the-scenes tactics to whisk Clark away. Now, according to sources, Nike's legal team is already working hard to prepare for a lawsuit against Adidas, alleging contract tampering. If that sounds like a big deal, it is, because if Nike proves it in court, it could upend not only the sports industry but the entire endorsement world. Picture two of the biggest brands suing each other over one of the most attractive basketball players. It's finally going to happen, and Caitlin Clark is right in the middle of it.